Back to our earlier discussion on the President Zelensky. You have any information from Moscow? Where is President Zelensky?
Look, I will say this. I think we live in an era where often quality of information, quality of news is replaced by speed. Accuracy is replaced by getting information out there quickly, and especially during the fog of war, it is very hard to understand what exactly is going on. And as my colleague said very early on, there were rumors that President Zelensky had left Kiev, that he was in a bunker. He did receive that offer of evacuation from the United States, and as Bogdan pointed out, he did say, "We need a weapon, is not a ride." There are now reports coming that he has fled to Poland, but President Zelensky has been releasing a lot of videos on social media showing him walking around Kiev, walking in his office, working, showing that he is in the Ukrainian capital. I would add that regardless of where he is at this time, as the Russian troops do advance on Kiev and will potentially enter Kiev in the coming days and weeks, if Zelensky does leave the country, that will very much be symbolic. I think while the president remains in Ukraine, this remains a conventional war between the Russian armed forces and the Ukrainian armed forces. I think if and when, of course, President Zelensky does evacuate to either Lviv in the rest of the country or further out to Poland or indeed to the United States, that will mark a change in what's going on, a sort of watershed moment in this Ukrainian conflict. And it's from that point that this war will no longer be conventional, but will be more of a resistance movement, if you like, by various groups in Ukraine. And of course, that may also impact negotiations, that may impact the level at which negotiations are conducted, that may make the Ukrainian government either more or perhaps even less inclined to accept the Russian demands regarding Crimea, regarding Donetsk and Lugansk. So certainly a lot does depend on Mr. Zelensky's presence in the Ukrainian capital.
The current war in today's era is not just like a platform to platform, it's like airplane versus airplane, a warship versus warship. The tanks versus tanks to get the total control of the air, the ground, the marine territory. But right now you're looking at information. All these information related on various platforms. Fake news and true news all combined. The thing is like to hit others' morale, but boost morale and the confidence of our own military. So this is really the military tactic and strategy. So you could see this is really important for the morale.
Yeah, I think certainly social media in this conflict plays a key role in shaping narrative. We have spoken about narrative previously during this live stream, and we are seeing such different narratives and such different viewpoints from both sides. Here, the narrative here in Russia is so different to what we are seeing in Western media, and I think in a lot of Western media, the narrative does appear to be, to a certain extent, that this conflict began a week ago when President Putin woke up one day and decided to invade Ukraine and start a war in Europe, and it simply is not the case. Things do run deeper than that. This conflict does have a history that goes back months and years, indeed back to 2014, 2015, of course, the conflict in East Ukraine, the republics of Donetsk and Lugansk, and certainly social media plays a role in shaping that narrative, and also, of course, providing information to people at a time when they seek alternative points of view from the state media here in Russia or the mainstream media in the West. I think people need to see all sides, to use social media effectively, but also very carefully to filter out fake news, to filter out news which is designed to confuse and to give false information, to really try to see all sides of the story and try to look at the conflict as Daria was saying, a conflict of blocks, a conflict with a history, with countries that have interests, as opposed to a simplification of what's going on. That Vladimir Putin is simply, decided to invade Ukraine one day to start a war for the sake of starting a war.